Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so have you ever pitched what you thought was just a brilliant idea to your boss, maybe a teacher, or even your local community, only to be met with total blank stares and a chorus of no? Man, it is incredibly frustrating. But, what if the actual problem wasn't your idea at all, but rather how you built the argument around it? Well, today we are going through an absolute masterclass on how to construct bulletproof arguments. We're going to look at exactly how you can pitch an idea, win a tough debate, and actually advocate for real actionable solutions. Let's get into it.
Right, let's dive into this by putting you right in the hot seat. Picture this, your principal suddenly announces, cell phones should be prohibited during class hours. And you have exactly 30 seconds to come up with one rock-solid reason supporting this brand new policy. Seriously, try to think of one right now. The clock is ticking. It's actually pretty tough, isn't it? Formulating a genuinely convincing argument on the spot is high-stakes pressure. Most of us just default to simple opinions when we're put on the spot. But as we're going to see, opinions simply aren't enough to carry the day.
So, to get us there, here is our roadmap for today. First, making ideas convincing. Second, is your idea feasible? Third, is your idea relevant? Then, we'll hit the strong argument formula, defending your proposal, and finally, real-world impact.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, making ideas convincing.
Now, you might have successfully identified a massive problem and brainstormed a really creative solution. But the golden question remains, how do we convince people our solution will actually work? Because if you can't build a solid bridge of trust and logic between your brilliant idea and your audience, well, the momentum just stops right there. You absolutely have to make people believe in it.
Let's look at an example. Consider a weak, loose opinion like, students should read more books because books are good. Okay, sure. But now compare that to an anchored claim. Students should read more because research shows that regular reading improves comprehension, vocabulary, and academic performance. You see the stark contrast there? The second statement is structured, and more importantly, it's factual. If you want to convince someone, you literally must upgrade your language from vague, flimsy opinions to structured, evidence-backed claims. It's a total game changer.
Moving right along to Section 2. Is your idea feasible?
So what does feasibility actually mean in the real world? It basically comes down to 4 hard questions. 1. Can it be done? 2. Is it realistic? 3. Do we have the resources? And 4. Is it affordable? This is your ultimate reality check. You can have the most beautiful, elegant idea in the entire world, but if it fails this 4-point checklist, it is honestly nothing more than a fantasy.
Let's test this out in a practical scenario. If your proposed solution to plastic waste is installing water refill stations, is that feasible? Well, yes. Notice the breakdown here. The space is available, the school funds can actually support it, and similar schools have already paved the way by implementing it successfully themselves. By laying it out like this, you're showing your audience exactly how the gears will turn. You're taking the guesswork out of it.
On the flip side, imagine someone proposing that to keep students happy, we should build a swimming pool in every single classroom. I mean, come on, right? It's wildly expensive and completely impossible. Contrast that with installing a few extra trash bins around campus. Sure, it isn't glamorous at all, but it checks absolutely every feasibility box. When you pitch an idea, you want to make sure it's a trusty trash bin, not a classroom swimming pool.
Which brings us to Section 3. Is your idea relevant? Relevance is our second major pillar today. It asks, does your solution address the specific problem? Is it important? Will it actually meet actual needs? If feasibility asks, can we do it? Relevance asks, should we do it? A truly great solution has to directly cure the specific headache being discussed, not just act as some shiny distraction.
Going back to our water stations example, we already know it's feasible, but is it relevant? Absolutely. Notice how perfectly the solution maps directly to the core problem of plastic waste by actively reducing plastic bottle use. It strikes right at the heart of the issue, leaving no room for doubt.
Let's test this logic again. If the defined problem is, say, poor reading habits, does building basketball courts solve that? Well, of course not. It might be feasible, maybe the school has the space and the money, but it fails the relevance test spectacularly. You have to always make sure your arrows align perfectly from the problem right straight to the solution.
All right, on to Section 4, the strong argument formula.
So here are the 3 interlocking pieces you absolutely must have for a winning argument. Step 1, your claim. This is where you clearly state your position. Step 2, evidence. This is where you bring in the hard facts. Step 3, explanation. You have to connect the evidence back to the claim so your audience understands the why.
Without all three of these pieces working together, your argument is just going to fall apart under pressure. Let's actually see the mechanics of this in action. First, the claim. Water refill stations should be installed. Okay, clear enough. Second, the evidence. Students dispose of over 300 plastic bottles daily. Boom, that is a hard, measurable fact. Finally, the explanation. Reducing bottle use directly decreases plastic waste. This ties the whole shebang together logically. It proves the relevance and validates the claim using your hard evidence.
Evidence is the real heavy lifter here, guys. Notice this massive data point. Schools that installed refill stations saw a 40% reduction in plastic waste. 40%. When you slide a concrete statistic like that across the table during a debate, it immediately shuts down vague objections. Measurable data will always beat mere opinions. And that brings us to an absolute bedrock rule for this stuff. Opinions are always weaker than evidence. I think students might like water stations is a super fragile opinion. Schools reduced waste by 40% using these stations is bulletproof evidence. You want to rely on the latter every single time.
Next up, Section 5, defending your proposal.
Look, you have to prepare for inevitable pushback. Critics are absolutely going to ask you, what evidence supports your claim? How realistic is your proposal? And who will actually benefit from this? But because you've structured your argument using the claim, evidence, explanation formula, and you've pressure tested it for feasibility and relevance, you're not going to be caught off guard. You'll be standing there ready to answer these questions calmly and effectively. You've basically built armor for your idea.
And finally, Section 6, real-world impact. I want you to think of a problem happening right now in your home, your school, or your local community. Got one? Okay, what solution would you propose? And much more importantly, would it actually survive the feasibility and relevance checklists we just went through? Could you back up your claim with hard evidence and a really clear explanation? This framework we're talking about today isn't just for academic debates. It's a literal tool for driving real, tangible change in your own environment.
Here's the big takeaway. A good solution solves a problem, but a great solution is supported by evidence. The next time you need to convince someone of something, build your argument on feasibility, anchor it in relevance, and back it all up with hard data. So my question to you is this. The next time someone tells you no, will you just accept defeat, or will you build an argument they simply cannot ignore?